Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm sure. To be so disciplined.
Yeah.
So, why did you choose the residency? How did that come about for you?
At Colorado State, they don't have a teacher licensure program, so I couldn't get my license there. I came back down and knew I wanted to be in education, but didn't really want to go to Metro. I always wanted to go to DU, and when I heard about the Denver Teacher Residency Program, I thought it was perfect because I wanted to do my graduate work and get my teaching license, so it was a perfect fit for me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about your residency experience. Was maybe talk a little bit about how you, like the integration of coursework and the clinical experience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when I did my internship at CSU, it was a lot of, you were at the observation school, so you kind of did the same thing. You were doing your coursework, but then you were part of their observation school, so I really liked that experience. And when I looked more into DTR and saw that's what it was, you know, you're taking your classes while being in the classroom and really taking leadership in the classroom, I thought that was perfect for me and what I wanted to do. And I think the coursework really it wasn't too much because it fit into what we were doing so well. And I did special ed last year with Kathy Walker Elliott. I was here at Gust in kindergarten, and I just loved being able to apply things that we were learning in class the next day into our classroom and seeing how effective it was and how, you know, it made my practice better, which was really nice.
And how did you know that? How did you know it was working?
Well, a lot of our coursework, so you know, might have a project and you have a focus group, and so you're trying different things with that focus group. It could be behavior management. We had a math course, and in that math course we were looking at different ways that children, you know, think about math. So using that, then, you know, coming back the next day, working with your group and saying that did not work at all, or seeing what a difference it would make for students and really hearing what they're thinking, you know, especially in math, because I think in literacy we dive so much into comprehension and, you know, you can see what mistakes they're making, but math sometimes it's just, did you get it or did you not get it, and there's so much more behind that, so.
Cool. I do have a list of questions, but I'm kind of going off the cuff here. So talk a little bit, you know, you were talking about learning something in the coursework and then applying it the next day. Tell me about working with your mentor, you know, and getting the feedback. You know, you were saying sometimes things worked, sometimes they didn't. Tell me a little bit about working with your mentor.
Well, I had, like, honestly, I think the best mentor in the program. But Kathy was great because she would be there with me. So, you know, even not during lead teach times, but when we were working together, even hearing just her feedback right there of, well, I didn't think this worked very well, or, you know, these are things that you're very good at and you should grow from those, was amazing because it's almost like you have a little guardian angel there with you the whole time. So instead of other programs where they kind of just throw you in and you just have to either sink or swim, you really have someone there who is an expert in the area that you want to be in. So Kathy in special ed, who's there to, you know, who's been through the good and the bad of it and can really help you in seeing what your strengths are and what you need to improve on. But also, I mean, it's nice because they understand that you still have class, and so they want to know what you're working on and how to even make their practice better, which is really cool. So it's like a team, which I really liked.
So was there anything that you remember kind of teaching Kathy that you learned or that she tried out herself?
So we started doing behavior management. For me is a huge piece. I think if you don't have that, your classroom just falls apart. So I was really big into like the technology behavior management, so Class Dojo. So I started that in our class, and Kathy started using it, and she's like, oh, these kids actually care if they're getting points or if they're not getting points, and it really changes their behavior. And there are different noises that happen, so if they do something good, then you give them a point, and it's, you know, a ding, very happy ding. When they do something that they need to work on, and that's how they phrase it, which is what I like, because it's not, you did something bad, it's something you need to work on. It kind of makes a wah noise, and they don't know who's getting it all the time. So really it keeps them, it holds them accountable. And so Kathy started using it, and she's like, oh, I like this. This is really nice. Because it's kind of hard sometimes when you're in a small group to have a behavior system, like the classrooms have clip systems and things like that. So I taught her that. I hope she liked it.
Yeah, it sounds like she did. So talk to me a little bit about, do you think that the residency program, set you up to be a successful teacher?
I do, because it's giving you that hands-on experience in the classroom. And, you have 3 periods when you're away from your mentor teacher and you're getting LEAP observations, which is great because that's a big part of our district, being observed by peer observers or your leaders in the school, your administration. So I really feel like DTR did a great job of showing you what it's going to be like when you're on your own and having those observations to give you feedback and to grow from your practice, which was great.
That's good. So would you recommend the residency program to
I would, yeah.
somebody else?
I have a couple of friends in the program this year and then another friend that got in for the next year. And if I ever hear anyone that says, I want to be in this program and I know they have that drive and that perseverance to make it through, because, it's a lot of work and you have to be open to getting feedback and building from it. So I would recommend people to definitely be in the program.
Well, I think that's interesting. You said that they have to show these certain qualities to be successful. What are some of those qualities that a successful resident needs?
Definitely being able to persevere, because you get knocked down a lot and things aren't going to work and you might think you know what you're doing and then you're like, oh, I'm back at square one. So being able to persevere, really being able to manage your time. So you still have to have, free time or social life outside of it, but being able to get your work done, still be committed to your school. Also someone who is genuinely interested in students and helping them to grow in their education, I think is a big part of it too.
What about that kind of being receptive to feedback? You kind of mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So I think this is kind of from my background. In softball, you are never perfect. It doesn't matter if you're 3 for 3, there's something that you can always fix. So being able to really reflect on your own practice and take what people are saying and think about how can I use what I'm receiving to make my practice better. And if you don't know, ask. What can I do? What would this look like in my classroom to make it better? And I think that's a big part of it, and not if you had a bad lesson, you have got to drop it and move on. Because if you just dwell on it or dwell on what someone thinks, it just eats you alive. And it affects your kids. So that's another big part of it. It's not just you, it's the 5-year-old you have in your room, in my case, as well. So.
And tell me about that headband you wear sometimes.
Oh, yes. So at the beginning of the year, kindergarten, they really want you to really help them out. And, they are still learning that they can do things on their own. And a lot of them, mom and dad still do a lot of things for them. So when they come to school, it's like, no, you have to be on your own in your group. So I found that at Target. And I was like, what if I wore this? And when my students saw this on my head, they knew they weren't allowed to come over and talk to me because the students at my table, that's their special time with me. That's their reading time. And so I brought it out, and they're like, that's so silly. And I'm like, yep, when I have the silly crown on, you cannot talk to me. And ever since then, they just know. The minute it's on, nobody comes anywhere near my table. But then when I take it off, it's like a couple of them are like, oh, it's off now. Can I talk to you? So it's really just to kind of show them that that's their time, that they need to be working independently, and that it's my time to give to the 4 or 5 kids that we're working on reading with.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well,
got to be silly sometimes.
Yes. So nice to meet you.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you too.
Thank you so much for coming in. That was great.
Thank you.
You were fabulous.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You guys were awesome. I was really nervous. Jamie's like,